Hi, Esra. This is Susan, and I'm responding to your homework assignment that we had about answering the question about the New Deal and what were some of the factors that impacted its success. And then ultimately, with the Reagan administration, in question two, what were the fulfilled promises, but what was the overall approach that Reagan took? And as far as the first question goes, I think you were able to really highlight what were some of the struggles of the New Deal um, when it came to trying to enact pieces that would help people that were struggling. And you highlighted the National Recovery Administration and the burdensome codes that were put into place on business. Um, And I think I had also highlighted that as one of the key things. And I think that that was a piece, but ultimately the Supreme Court struck that down, and they ruled that those codes constituted an extra constitutional delegation of legislation authority to the executive branch and exceeded the powers granted in the Commerce Clause of the Constitution. So really, that was knocked out. And then also the Agricultural Adjustment Administration also ultimately had some blows by the Supreme Court, but ultimately it it did increase family farm incomes, but it was a good deal for white farmers and those that own land, right? Versus the folks working the crops, and ultimately they had to move north. African Americans had to workers had to move north to find jobs. So ultimately it ended up in unemployment for them in large numbers. So really it was depending on who you were looking at, who got the good deal. So Congress viewed that AAA as an overwhelming success because it was placed within the Department of Agriculture and had a lot of support around it. So my question to you is these important factors that really didn't ultimately lead to getting us completely out of the Great Depression during that time. The question was, do you really feel like it's a little bit more on the overregulation piece that were the key factors in not having it be successful? Or do you think it was maybe not enough stimulus to all workers? So it's like it definitely targeted some workers. And ultimately, that was the same case when they put in things like the Social Security Administration. It didn't apply to all workers. There were sectors that weren't included in that, and a lot of those sectors had people of color working in them, and so they didn't benefit from some of those policies. So that's my question to you. As far as the second half with with Ronald Reagan, you again highlighted some of those key points that he had put in terms of the ERTA, the Economic Recovery Tax Act, and his reduction of taxes, which was in his perspective probably a successful promise fulfilled, and then turned around and his administration promoted the largest peacetime expansion of the military in U.S. history, you had put. So those were some key points in that Reagan administration. And so my question to you is, you had written a little bit about that expansion being contradictory to what he proposed, and that his administration really focused on prioritizing the short-term free market gains. My question to you, though, is do you think that he also did an upfront investment, but it was on the military side? So he really changed the focus to military being the main focus of infrastructure and stimulus, and that really long term, it was more than a short-term gain. It was definitely a short-term gain, but was it a long-term gain of more military over time, that we kept that military spending over time and had significant increases in that? So you talked about the Green New Deal focusing on environmental regulations and transitioning to more sustainable employment. So wondering if you feel like maybe they're equivalent, just just that their focuses are in different areas. So that is my question for you. Thanks so much, Yesra. Bye now.